Okay, so I'm live streaming now, so please tell me who you are. Names, please.
I'm Ronaldo Delgado.
I'm Brandon Navom.
Okay, and why were you guys here in Boston today?
You ready to go first?
You go first.
I guess I was the guy. I sued the city of Boston, the mayor, and the police commissioner. I couldn't speak at the August rally, and I had four primary considerations. Problem number one, I was prevented from going to the Parkman bandstand. Problem number two, they didn't allow media inside. Problem number three, they didn't allow amplification of our speech. And problem number four, they didn't allow an audience. And today, all four of those things happened. And that was because of my lawsuit, and I'm very proud. And I'm very happy for the First Amendment, and I want to thank everyone involved, including the Boston Police Department.
Okay, so you kind of summarized the events of the August rally a little bit there. Could you go into a little more detail about that and then also summarize the events of today's rally?
Yeah, well, I tried to speak like I was an invited speaker because I'm a progressive, a Bernie Sanders progressive. I support sanctuary cities, transgender rights, actual petitions I filed in the city of Pittsfield, environmental stuff. I banned styrofoam, single-use plastic bags in many cities and towns in Pittsfield. And I also did a lot of things for animal rights. So it became evident. I'm also a First Amendment attorney. I was involved in such things as the lawsuit with Dan Valenti, a blogger who was stopped because of a criminal harassment prevention order. Also was involved in a lawsuit involving myself gathering signatures for political office in front of the post office, as well as being stopped from having a music festival because we couldn't pay for police officers. So I've been involved in a number of First Amendment activity. I talked to one of the organizers of the Boston Free Speech Rally. Because I was so progressive and because I was such an advocate of the First Amendment, it was a natural to invite me because most of the other speakers were on the right. So I came, I was invited, then I was not allowed to speak. I kept going from gate to gate to gate at the Parkman bandstand. And so I sued because I wasn't allowed to speak. I sued because there was no amplification of sound. I sued because the media was not allowed to cover the event. And I sued because there was no audience. It was a First Amendment disaster. And here's the great thing. All the opposite happened today. All the opposite happened. Speakers were allowed to speak. There was allowed amplification of sound. The audience was allowed in. The police didn't act as the gatekeeper. We did. And finally, there was all types of media there. The media went ballistic, and the ACLU and all that filed amicus curiae briefs and all types of statement with the mayor. And it was a great day for the First Amendment, and I feel pretty much... yeah, I know I'm doing all the talking, but I feel very proud and happy.
Great. Now let me ask you this: why are you guys suing for such a high sum? What are the damages in this case?
Oh yeah, I think I asked. Well, what happened is two lawsuits mine. I think we're asked for $500 million, but that's just to prevent ourselves being limited by because you're limited by how much you ask. And Brandon, how much we ask?
$100 million.
Yeah, and they lied. What happened is they kind of seemed like a lie. I mean, the mayor of Boston, you have to remember, he hired all type of people, and he's got all this staff, this police staff, and the Anti-Defamation League, the Anti-Defamation League, said there was no white supremacist. It became evident if you read the Boston Free Speech Rally page, there was no white supremacists. I figured out there was no white free supremacists before I speak, and then he kept calling us white supremacists and Nazis and all that. Mm-hmm. So I sued for defamation.
Okay.
So let me jump in here since you've been taking all the time.
Yeah, go ahead.
Again, my name is Brandon Navom, and I'm a local liberty activist who, began to, as a software engineer, I began to see a need to be able to express myself. So I started going to Toastmasters and picked up a hobby speaking. And so I would pick up various different venues, and I found myself very quickly embroiled in a national controversy. After the horrible and tragic events of Charlottesville, Virginia, my name was very falsely associated with those in other rallies. And as a result, I very quickly found myself subject to a 24-hour torrent of hatred on the internet. My personal information was exposed. I started receiving all sorts of terrible and horrible threats online. And my employer was harassed to the point that I was fired the day after Charlottesville, Virginia, a full 6 days before the Boston Free Speech rally. So I find it amazing that, as opposed to maybe other cases where people were fired for things they had said, I was fired because of rumors that were not true about words that I had not yet spoken. And I think it's insane that...
Largely attributable to what the mayor said about who the speakers were, and they're being right-wing fascist types and haters and white supremacists and Nazis and all that.
Exactly. And, you know, I would just ask anybody, you know, do we want to live in a world where a few tweets to someone's employer can get them fired immediately, without question, without even understanding the full story?
The thing about Brandon it was calling the organizers and the speakers Nazis that empowered people to feel like they could shut down speech. They feel it was justified, empowered people to harass and call up employers. And that's why it was so evil, this type of, you know, I'm a democratic socialist. I wouldn't want to be called a communist. In Gitlow versus New York, it was socialists that were stopping speaking.
So
we have to be more tame in our language and be more humane. You know, we can't call people that are conservative Nazis, and we can't call people that are leaning to the left communists. We need to respect each other, love each other, and just engage in meaningful dialogue and not like hate each other. There's those nasty labels, I mean, that cause people to feel comfortable suppressing speech and being violent and causing property destruction, and it isn't good.
Yeah. And you know, when I've thought about this a lot from the other side. I felt I needed to engage in some introspection, right? And if you actually legitimately thought someone was going to kill 6 million Jews, right? You would probably be warranted, you would probably feel you were warranted in some pretty aggressive activity if you thought this was the case. So when we use this rhetoric, when we go calling people Nazis, right, that is a warrant put on someone's head. That is a label that is saying this is open season to do any sort of terrible, horrible thing to this person. Because if that were actually true, if you were going to kill millions of people, then it would be warranted to do terrible and horrible things. And when you talk about people who you have minor disagreements with and you call them Nazis, right, it just invites this type of behavior.
Now, are you guys worried about free speech becoming like a left versus right issue instead of like a free speech issue?
Well, we have left and right here.
No, Bernie Sanders, progressive, and a democratic socialist defending people that are primarily on the right to speak so. But yeah, I mean, I hate to say it. I'm on the left, but it's the left is worse, much worse.
Yeah.
I mean, they're the ones that are doing most of the speech suppression.
Now, how do you think?
Embarrassing.
How do you feel the police and the state should respond to such protests and counter protests? Like when they attract, like what do you think the police response should be?
Well, you know, we talked about heckler's veto, and the law is quite clear. They should allow the speech. They should allow permits to issue and amplification of sound, and an audience to develop, and not allow a heckler's veto where basically the speech is suppressed in the name of public safety, predicated upon the reaction of the crowd to the speakers. If the speakers are behaving and are not immediately inciting riots or violence, then they should be allowed to speak, and they shouldn't be held to be, shut up just because other people are being violent to that speech. So they should allow that speech to happen and just do what they did today, bringing up police. And if people are violent and breaking the law like they were today, arrest them. But it's imperative because the ability to speak, the ability to advocate for change is the first ingredient. I mean, it's freedom, and it's important in and of itself as a right, as a way of self-actualization. but it's a way of protecting other rights and other liberties, because that's how we first say there's something wrong, there needs to be a remedy, and if we can't speak freely, we're screwed.
Okay, now do you guys have any comment on the 3 Antifa arrests from today? So I guess 3 people were arrested.
They looked pretty violent to me, like they were screaming and yelling, but I didn't really see it up, but I didn't see the initial moments. So I don't like to comment on things I really don't know everything about. And you know, if they were being violent, it sounded like they were trying to rush the stage, but I don't really know. So okay. I don't know if I have any particular comment. They really were pretty agitated when they were. I did see them being arrested. They were quite agitated, but I did see the predecessor events. So yeah, the lawyer in me makes me refrain from comment.
No,
and you know, I find it as someone who was on the receiving end of people who made comments, judgments, sent tweets before knowing the full facts. I found a newfound respect for making sure you have all the facts before you make a statement. Because I'd hate to have what happened to me happen to anyone else. So I would echo those statements of, you know, if there's anything I can tell anyone, it's make sure you know what you're saying before you open your mouth. Hear twice before you speak once, because you never know whose life you could ruin.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and now as far as Mayor Walsh goes, have they reached out to you guys in any way, shape, or form to try to hash this lawsuit, or have they just not?
Yes and no. I mean, they behaved today. In that sense, yes, but they didn't. You know, I mean, when I filed for a preliminary injunction, they seemed to be fighting, you know, an order that they behaved, but I think they were just doing that out of fear of personal embarrassment. Okay. So, I mean, when you say reach out, I think I don't know if I would use that terminology, but they behaved well today.
Okay,
and the Boston police, my hands are off to them. Today they were great. They were perfect. They were no A+ today.
Yeah, and let me just add, I think I can say this, my lawyer will stop me if I say anything out of turn, but you know, a lot of people were asking me about the timing of the lawsuit, right? Why did we have it, and did they interact? And, you know, I just want to say that the reason why it happened when it did was because after the rally, I had sent Mayor Walsh a letter. I had enumerated how his words has caused me harm. And even after he caused me to lose my job, even after he caused all sorts of hate and threats and everything else online, even after he caused so many threats that my daughter had to defend me against accusations that I was a Nazi, even after all that, I still wanted to give him an opportunity to resolve this in private. And so I gave him that period of time to be able to do that, and he refused to respond to me. So if anyone's wondering about the timing, the issue, the dollar amount, it was because of Mayor Marty Walsh's lack of willing to listen to me and to resolve the situation.
Awesome. So last question, what is the next step both legally and in your activism for the both of you?
Oh, I press forward with the lawsuit. I still have the lawsuits, 2 lawsuits. They're a lot of work, you know, they're not just 5 minutes of work. So the next steps are doing discovery, and we hope to have a GoFundMe or some other equivalent and get money to do depositions. And you know, you could lose. I still want, you know, I hope to get paid a bit, and that's the next step. You know, is fighting the lawsuits. You know, it's going to be a big battle. Yeah, and we have to do it. So it's you know, a lawsuit isn't a 5-minute thing. Mm-hmm. This is something I'm going to be dealing with for a year or 2 or 3.
Okay, thank you guys so much for giving us the exclusive interview here today. If you want to check it out yourself, it'll be available on the News to Share Facebook page. And again, thank you guys so much for your time.
All right, thank you.
Cheers, thank you.